Hello. So this is my third attempt about making this video. I got really inspired. I saw this guy talking about esoteric concepts with gaming footage, and I remember I used to do that stuff as well. The thing is, I gave up. Well, I gave up. We could say I took like a very long break because I was discouraged. But now I have a new purpose, and I would love to speak to you guys about more. I'm sure spiritual is the right way, but so I'm really into the Course in Miracles. It's one of the best books I've ever read, and what I love about it the most is very practical because it's about mind training, right? About being more in alignment with the Holy Spirit, with thoughts of love, right, of unity consciousness, which I also am being guided to be more of the champion consciousness, as I'm a champion and Pathfinder, and I feel like that name really resonates. Paladin is cool too, but champion is really, really nice. You might, if you're watching on YouTube, you might see some footage of me playing Fallout London and the Cat VR. I love, combining fitness with gaming, and the Cat VR is really, really awesome. I really recommend it if you're into the VR space, but I really wanted to make just an imperfect video because I feel my journey has taken me now. I can speak about what I've learned on this journey and help others. Even if I help one person who had to deal with what I had to deal with, I think it's worth it, honestly, because I'm doing healthy gamer therapy, and one of the people that's in it, he was just a mirror. Like, I felt like I was talking to my younger self. And I want to speak about self-compassion being the missing key, or like the missing piece for me. And it should be like self-explanatory, right? You think about it. Oh, like self-compassion, what is it? Like, it's, yeah, like love yourself. But I want to speak to the people that dealt with what I had to deal with, which so I had a tyrannical inner voice. It was crazy. It's almost like as I'm talking to a different person, and I think in many ways I am, but I don't want to discredit really the hardship I went through. That was I'd say 90% this inner voice that made my life just a living hell sometimes. Maybe on the outside things looked fine, I was things are going well maybe on the outside, but like in the inside I was really having my own battle, which is on this other videos I watched saying about having a contemptuous relationship with yourself, like having contempt for yourself. And I knew the spiritual principles like Abraham Hicks and, like I said, later Course in Miracles, all about like loving yourself. And I'm like, I want to love myself, I really do, but it feels impossible. And what I didn't see what this inner voice, it was allowing me to be mistreated also in the external world, right? Because if you mistreat yourself in the internal world, you're going to allow and tolerate some BS, right? I talk about it as like a high pain tolerance, especially as men. We're like, yeah, I can tolerate lots of pain, yeah, but all it allows is like you can handle a lot of BS. I can see it now, since I'm above the battlefield, but inside the battlefield of the ego mind, it's hard to see that. For example, I was in the marching band for 4 years, and I didn't like it. Such a simple thing, right? That I did something I didn't like. I had beliefs like, look, I'm good at my college, BS anyway. Or, but the main one was like, you gotta finish what you start. I'm not really sure where I got that belief from, maybe from my dad. I remember like whenever we go to restaurants and we would go to buffets and like I wouldn't drink my soda, and he's like, I didn't want to. He's like, you gotta drink it, you got it, people are paying for it. And I had to force feed myself that slop into my, I'm not saying that's But that's just an example of one of that, right? Like the kind of sunk cost fallacy, right? I bought this thing, I gotta use it, but like it's just BS, right? And it's such a simple thing, but if you're like me, I know there's something you're like, I gotta do it. I don't like it, but I gotta do it. Unless you're under some like moral, legal obligation, let it go. I've had actually a few dreams where I was in a different reality where I quit marching band early, and it was such a release. Of course, no one forced me to do it, but I forced myself, right? Because of when you have this tyrannical voice, you have a very low self-esteem, and you're like, oh, this is just normal. This is just normal. And in this book I'm reading about from Pete Walker, it talks about you repeat your trauma. I forgot what the trauma reenactment or whatever, but you reenact and you put yourself in the environment again. And it was a very toxic environment. Like people made fun of me, bullied me, and I hated practicing the tuba. I hated. It was a very heavy instrument. It was just I would say torturous, especially it was after school, And this is the thing. I had no compassion for myself, right? Because now, if I was going through something like that, I'd be like, do you really like it? Do you want to be there? Is it good for you? And be like, no, I think I'm going to quit, But since I had no self-compassion, I tolerated it. I grit my teeth. I bared it. Of course, it wasn't all bad. That's the thing. Because if it was 100% bad, maybe I would have left earlier. But there had good moments. Kind of like I think what people talk about being an abusive relationship, right? It's not all bad, but just because it has some good, like if there's some good in this, horse shit, it's still horse shit, you know what I mean? If there's what do you call it? I don't know. If there's candy in the horse shit or something, I don't know about swearing in these videos, but whatever, I'll speak off the cuff. Also how it affected my relationships. Like I've had, a brief relationships, and that's something I've been, one of the big, I would say, challenges in my life is developing healthy relationships. And if with romance, I would attract these very emotionally distant or emotionally abusive women. And I just watched a video recently about this guy talking about it, and he said this is the exact same thing because he had a horrible inner voice, and he allowed the woman to mistreat him. I'm also thinking about how I grew up with. It was like if my mom would just yell at my dad, and my dad would just pout. He wouldn't say anything, and he would just tolerate it, and then afterwards they'd like make go, oh, I'm sorry, but it's like you're showing to that person, yes, yell at me, it's okay, yell at me, I won't do anything, and not saying I was exactly yelled at, but like just mean comments and stuff, and I would just be like, oh, I'm going to be the nice guy, and something I want to talk about, because this nice guy syndrome, which I think calling a nice guy is doing it a disservice. Right? Just like, oh, he's just too much of a nice guy. No, it's just like he doesn't know to be assertive, to stand up for himself, to have boundaries. And this is it's crazy to think about. Before Healthy Gamer, I had no concept of boundaries. None whatsoever. I had no idea that you can set a boundary with somebody. It's like, oh, if you do this, I'm going to do that. No concept of it. Grown ass man. It's like 29. I had like no concept that you can show others how you're going to be treated, right? And I really implore you, if anyone being mean, aggressive to you, just learn to set those boundaries, enforce those boundaries. This is something we weren't taught as children. This is all under the base of CPTSD, complex PTSD. I was never officially diagnosed, but like. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It doesn't even really matter what name we give it. It's, we could say the negative polarity or the ego mind, lower self, lower nature. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's something unpreferred, right? And I'm talking about how to heal that. Yes, so setting those boundaries. And yes, about how A Course in Miracles saved me from this. Because I think I found the Course around my spiritual awakening. I can't remember exactly, maybe 2018, 2017, I'm not sure. I read it, or I listened to it, I watched a lot of videos, and it was it was good for the soul, but I had a lot of resistance about doing the workbook lessons, which is a bit basically like mind training. Like they have different exercises, and they get more, a little bit more complex each time you go. And but something just clicked in me. Like I had to do it. I had to do it. I got this app that also gamified it. You have like a streak bonus, and it was very easy to do. And also, I did it with my schedule. It said like morning, evening. I don't think the course really cares if you do it in the evening or not. It's more about just doing it twice. It's in my opinion. That's what worked for me. And I would do it in the afternoon when I'd have, so I would feel a little bit tired, and I'd like to meditate. It doesn't matter, but, and when I did it, the last one, and then the night I went to sleep, I had this dream about my mom yelling at me, and I was clenching my fist. I felt like this wave of literally wave of emotion coming over me, and I was feeling angry, and I was clenching my fist, but I said, I will not abandon myself. I will not abandon myself. I will not abandon myself. And I could see that I learned at a young age to abandon myself. And I didn't even have these words. This is how amazing the Holy Spirit is. Because before then, I didn't even know there was a concept called self-abandonment, right? And if you ever, felt this way about, when you get into a negative emotion, you feel like you can't get out of it. I really feel like it is self-abandonment, because we learned somewhere in our early years that this is okay behavior. This is how life is, that I'm going to kick myself off my own team. I'm going to berate myself, loathe myself enough. I think for me, it was because if I loathe myself enough, maybe I'd get some pity or something. I don't know. But it's kind of like baby elephants. If you know this analogy, a lot of people talk about it, that how to do these circuses would get these giant elephants, staying in place of just a single rope, because they could rip that rope easily. Is they get baby elephants to tie a rope around its trunk, and then it's young, it's weak, and it struggles and it can't get the rope off, and then it grows up, and it still thinks it's a baby elephant. It still thinks it's a baby elephant even if it's a grown elephant. All right, we have to finish because I want to match the footage. But anyway, so please make a vow to yourself: never abandon yourself. Stay on your own team. I implore you. Right, this is what the course teaches us. Right, stay on your own team. Be your own best friend. And I'll expand upon this in a later video. All right, take care.